Today I'm going to be talking about my experience starting a social media marketing agency. So it's gone pretty well. In year one, we did 6 figures and I was able to upgrade my car from this to this. I was able to travel the world and able to get my own apartment. Then in year 2, we took it up a level and I was able to double my revenue. And now I've started my own investment company, which is buying other marketing companies. It's all pretty insane when I say it out loud. SMMA has definitely changed my life forever. And the reason I'm making this video is because not so long ago, I was in your shoes, looking for ways to make money online, whether it was drop shipping or FBA, stumbling my way around the internet, looking for the answer. And eventually, thank God, I came across SMMA and the rest is history. This video is for the people out there that maybe haven't started their agency yet, or maybe they have started their agency and they can't land that first client. They're looking for some advice and they're looking for someone who started an agency and scaled it successfully. I'm going to be completely transparent about all my experiences, from the client success stories and the highs, from the sleepless nights and all the lows. Hopefully, if you enjoy the video and get some value, you'll hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. In the coming weeks and months, I'll be dropping a ton of high value content completely for free. So let's get into how it all unfolded. So how did I get into social media marketing? It was actually completely by accident. Around 5 years ago, when I was still in college, I started a few e-commerce brands. By the way, if you want an empty bank account and some high stress levels, start 2 e-commerce brands while you're a student. So anyway, I started these brands and I was running social media for both of them. A few people here and there had mentioned they really liked what I was doing with the social media. They liked the content, they liked the posts, and a friend of mine actually recommended that I should look into SMMA, that I clearly had a knack for it. Now at the time, I had no idea what SMMA even was. I'd never heard of it. So I quickly began researching, and I do what everyone does when they hear about something. They look it up on YouTube. I must have watched every single SMMA YouTuber there was at the time, and I was hooked immediately. However, I must admit at the start, because there's so much content out there, I was kind of a little bit overwhelmed. It took me a little while to wrap my head around the business model, but I continued to dig and research any way I could. Then I eventually came across this one guy on YouTube that was teaching Upwork. Again, I had never even really heard of Upwork. Little did I know it was about to change my life forever. For anyone who doesn't know, Upwork is a freelancing platform and one of the biggest in the world. It's where companies go and post jobs, and then freelancers apply to them jobs, and if successfully picked, they carry out the work for the client. So I made an Upwork account and started to play around with it and see what I could do on it. Needless to say, I didn't get much traction because I hadn't a clue what I was doing. At this stage, I had actually graduated college and was working my 9 to 5, which was not fun. After about 3 months in the job, I knew I had to get out of there. Up until this point, I gained a little bit of traction on Upwork, but nothing to shout about. However, I was confident if I went all in and used my own e-com brands as my case studies, I could get some clients on it. So I decided to go all in. I optimized my profile, used my own brands as testimonials, and quickly created a daily workflow where I was applying to 15 social media management jobs and 15 paid advertising jobs. And it went absolutely nuts. For every 30 jobs I would apply to, I would get 3 responses. So 30 jobs per day, 5 days per week, I was applying to around 150 jobs. That meant I was getting around 15 responses every single week. And out of those 15 responses, about 90% were booking calls. So I was getting upwards of 13, 14 calls per week. I honestly couldn't believe it. I could not believe this platform I'd never heard of was so effective. Now, unfortunately, I had no idea what I was doing. So I was getting on these calls and making every mistake in the book. My close rate was not high at all. But because I was booking so many calls, just by the law of averages, I would get some closes. After a couple of weeks, just from so much practice, I started to get a lot better. I was genuinely shocked these people were willing to pay me to run their social media, and pay me good money for it. Every single day, 2 hours before work and 2 hours after work, I religiously applied to jobs and did sales calls when I could. After working crazy hours for 1 month, my revenue was at £6,000. I genuinely could not believe my eyes. Now, of course, not all of this was profit. I would say my profit margin for month 1 was around £4,500, £5,000, but it was still incredible after just jumping into the deep end without knowing really anything about the industry. This was a lot more than my 9 to 5 at the time, so I had a big decision to make. Should I quit my job and go all in, or was it just a case of beginner's luck? Needless to say, at the time, my job satisfaction was not high, so this wasn't really a hard decision to make. I quit my job and went all in, so month 2, the pressure was on. I just stayed consistent, and instead of doing it before and after work, I applied to jobs all day. And month 2, we seen even more growth. It was a really exciting time. But it wasn't all positives. It was extremely stressful. My pricing was all over the place. I had no bookkeeping. I was taking on anyone that wanted to work with me. I was working crazy hours and had absolutely no team members helping me with any of the work. But I continued to reinvest back into the business because I was hungry to grow and scale fast. Month 3 topped out at £17,000 in revenue. But this was my breaking point. I was getting calls from Pacific time to Eastern time to London time. You name a time zone, I had a client in it. The pressure to deliver results for these clients was massive, and I was really starting to feel the squeeze. I knew it was a breaking point, so I decided in month 4 we were going to stop all outreach. I took the profits I accrued and I invested into a mentorship that I researched online. And this was the best thing I ever did because it taught me how to actually run a business. This was something I'd never done before, and I was trying to learn on the fly. Things like accounting, systems, managing a team. All things that were really important in running an agency. This was a complete game changer for me. So month 4 was basically handing all the clients we had previously accrued. There was no more client onboarding and no fresh clients coming in. Yes, this meant that revenue went down a little bit in month 4, but it took a lot of the pain and stress off my shoulders as I restructured the company. Months 5 and 6 were spent reshaping, restructuring, finding high quality team members that were really gonna scale this in and get it to the next level. So what did I do with all my newfound knowledge? The first thing I did was clean up my pricing structure. Without a clean pricing structure, you have no idea what your margins are and your business is all over the place. This was important because I now had team members, which were subcontractors, so I needed to know exactly what I was making from every client. The next thing I needed to do was put in some automation and systems that took a lot of the heavy lifting off my shoulders. I did this by hiring a VA to do all my Upwork outreach. They would apply to jobs and set appointments in my calendar while I focused on other ways to move the business forward. It can be really hard work to find a good VA and train them to do exactly what you do, but this saved me so much time over the next 6 months. With all this free time in my hands, I was able to diversify my outreach to platforms like Instagram and Facebook. For Instagram, I would scrape leads using a software called Apollo.io. Once I found a business owner, I would DM them on Instagram, go through a script, and then book them on a call where I would hop on and sell them my services. It's very much a numbers game on Instagram. You'll maybe talk to 100 business owners and get a couple of responses. Facebook was very similar, but instead of scraping a lead list, I would join business groups and add owners that were in the group. So for example, in one campaign, I was targeting furniture companies. So then I would join furniture groups on Facebook and send requests to business owners within that group. Again, once accepted, I would go through a script within Facebook Messenger and then book them on a call to sell my services. This was a slow burner and took some time to gain momentum. But eventually, after a couple of months, I was doing very well on each platform and had my Upwork running in the background that was automated with my VA. Once I was happy with the results on Facebook and Instagram, I then did the exact same thing as Upwork. I hired a VA, trained them, and then got them to do the heavy lifting while I just took the sales calls. Within my first year, I would say around month 9 is when I had Facebook, Instagram, and Upwork all completely automated where I was just taking the sales calls. So what happened in month 9? Month 9 is when I ventured into my first variation of paid outreach. This was using a software called LinkedIn Premium, which costs around $90. I also used a supplementary software called WeConnect.io that automated everything on the back end. This was around $30 or $40. So how did it work? Basically, I used LinkedIn Premium to scrape business owners from the platform. This could be super niche down. So say, for example, I wanted to find furniture owners in Texas that had 10 staff. I would scrape these from LinkedIn Premium and then I would upload them to WeConnect that would automatically send out connection requests using a script that I uploaded to that platform. So in essence, my LinkedIn outreach was completely automated and this cost me around $110 to $120 per month. It worked really, really well and it's a strategy I still use right to this day. So that started in month 9 and I would say it took a couple of months to iron out all the issues and get that working really efficiently. So after 11 or 12 months, I had LinkedIn, Upwork, Facebook, and Instagram all running completely automatically and I was focusing on sales. That's all I was doing, IPAs, income producing activities, which at that moment was taking sales calls and onboarding clients. So to summarize my strategy for the first 12 months, I would do an outreach strategy, get excellent at that strategy, and then automate it when I could. After automating that specific strategy, I would move on to the next one, master it, and then work out how I could automate that strategy for my agency. The thinking behind this was you didn't want to rely on one strategy for all of your outreach. Let's say, for example, you use Instagram DMs for your agency. If for whatever reason your Instagram account got suspended, your agency would have absolutely no leads for that month. So what you want to do is mitigate your risk by diversifying your lead gen across multiple platforms. This is the best and most efficient way to grow an agency in my opinion. And if you can automate them platforms after you master them, it's going to allow you to scale really, really quickly. So you're probably thinking to yourself, what niche were you focusing on or were you doing ecom? And this is something that I wanted to talk about in this video. A lot of people on YouTube and a lot of people generally in the SMMA space preach ecom. And I think this is just terrible advice. When starting out your agency, you want to be going for low-hanging fruit, and ecom clients just are not that. As you're inexperienced, you've got to go out there and get your feet wet, build up your portfolio. If you take the owner of an ecom store who's probably built that store up himself and probably knows more about Facebook ads than you do as a beginner, how is that going to look on a sales call when he asks you how you usually stack your lookalike audiences or how you do your retargeting? You're going to have no idea what to tell him. This coupled with the fact there's thousands of people already trying to do that niche. Someone is always going to have more testimonials and better experience than you, especially in something like ecom. And if they don't, you're just going to get undercut on price. That niche is just too saturated. And despite what people tell you on YouTube, I recommend staying well away from it. Or at least wait until you have some rock solid testimonials to back up what you're saying. I would recommend going for some local businesses where you're going to come across like an expert if you're able to describe Facebook ads to them, even in a simple way. Or you could use a platform like Upwork where you're more of a broad agency and you can test different niches. When I started out, I used Upwork and I worked across a variety of niches. And I finally stumbled upon furniture companies, which I really enjoyed. I was able to get really good results from them, and they were kind of like a gray area in between ecom and local brick and mortar companies. And I really enjoyed working with them. So instead of going straight for ecom, maybe try something like that, where you can get your feet wet and find a niche that suits you. So what are the key points and takeaways from running my own social media marketing agency over the last 2 years? Has SMMA changed my life? Absolutely. I would never have imagined I'd be doing these numbers a couple of years ago. I think it's a fantastic business model if done correctly. If you compare it to something like dropshipping or FBA that have super low margins, it's just so much better. In dropshipping or FBA, you'd be lucky to get 15 to 20% profit margins, whereas in SMMA, you could be upwards of 80, 90% profit. And in my opinion, it's very much a numbers game. If you do enough outreach, you will get sales calls. And if you get enough sales calls, you will land clients. It's as simple as that. Let's take an example. If you set yourself the goal of targeting 500 business owners in 1 month, which is extremely doable, and we work off 2% of those leads result in sales calls, that's 10 sales calls in 1 month. And the average closing rate in the industry is 30%. That would be 3 closes from those 10 sales calls. If you're charging $1,000 per client, that's $3,000 in 1 month. As I said, it's simply a numbers game. There's no doubt in my mind, if you put in the work, you will get results in this space. So what are my 3 biggest takeaways from running a marketing agency? Number 1, don't get disheartened. It's simply a numbers game. Outreach is not supposed to be easy. You will speak to a lot of people before finding someone who's interested. 99% of agency owners stop because they don't like that rejection. Push on when other people will quit and you will reap the rewards. Number 2, build a team ASAP. This is without a doubt a game changer and something I wish I did at the start. I did everything by myself and the stress levels were insane. Your team is what will allow you to scale. Build one as soon as possible and it will free up your time, decrease your stress levels, and improve your service delivery. Number 3, reinvest every single penny you make. Put every single bit of profit back into the business. It's as simple as that. The goal here is not short-term gratification, even though I might have slipped into a bit of that myself. Build something for the future and you will thank yourself down the line. Starting any business isn't a walk in the park. It's gonna be tough, but the opportunity in the marketing space is so vast if you're willing to put the work in that other agency owners aren't. Now, if you're sitting watching this video thinking, should I go out there and start my marketing agency? Trust me, it will be the best thing you ever do. There's little to no risk, and there's such little startup costs. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be posting a ton of content, including videos on how to land your first client, so make sure to stay tuned for that. I'll also be posting a full video on how to get to 10K per month as soon as possible. And if there's anything you'd like me to post a video on, stick it in the comments below. I'll be posting twice per week from now on in, so if there's anything you'd like, make sure to drop it in. Also, for anyone who's looking to start their own social media marketing agency, or even someone who already has and is struggling to land their first clients, I have a free 5-day course linked in my bio where I show you each and every day a different outreach method on how to get your first client, completely for free. Each day via email, I'll be sending you a completely different outreach method showing you how to get first clients. So if that interests you, hit that link in the bio. Thanks for watching the video and I'll see you in the next one.